There are currently 896,909 properties in Louisiana that have greater than a 26% chance of severe flooding in the next 30 years. Now, this is 47% of all properties in Louisiana, which means you're asking yourself, since you're thinking about moving to South Louisiana, is it even safe with all this flooding? Where does it flood? When does it flood? Why does it flood? How does it flood? You're asking yourself all these questions. Well, today I'm going to be answering those burning questions in this video, so make sure you stay tuned. We're getting started right now. Hey guys, if this is your first time for the channel and you want to know anything and everything about living in South Louisiana, the good and the bad things like flooding, well, you're going to want to make sure you subscribe and tap that notification bell as well so that you can be the first to learn about the current real estate market here in South Louisiana. And if we haven't met before, I'm Carson, and my girlfriend Natalie and I are realtors here in Madisonville, Louisiana with Weichert Realtors List Your Properties, and we love helping people just like you with the process of buying and selling real estate. So if you're looking to make a move down here in the next 9 days or the next 90 days, whatever it happens to be, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or even schedule a Zoom call with us, and we'll be here to help you with your smooth move to South Louisiana. But like I mentioned, we are covering everything about flooding in South Louisiana. In today's video, I'm going to be answering all the questions that you have, and if I don't happen to answer your question about flooding, which I should cover in this video, just drop a comment. Let me know what else you want to know about flooding, and I will gladly answer that question for you. So why does it flood? Well, Louisiana is located on the southernmost part of the Mississippi River Basin, which has the largest drainage out of any basin in North America. Flooding down here is largely driven by massive rainfall events. Like in 2016, we just had a ton of rainfall out of nowhere. It was completely unexpected, like a fluke or something. And of course, hurricanes and, like I said, just lots of rainfall. For reference, Louisiana gets between 50 and 70 inches of rain per year on average, and the U.S. national average is about 30 inches, so like double. And in the crazy floods of 2016 down here, there was 20 to 30 inches of rain, all in the span of a few weeks. Can you imagine the average rainfall for an entire year in most states happening in a couple weeks in Louisiana? Pretty crazy, right? Although with all that incredible amount of rainfall, Louisiana is actually not the most flood-prone state in the country. That would be Florida. Florida's number one, and we're number two. And by the way, the top 5 most flood-prone states are New York, New Jersey, California, Louisiana, and Florida. I think I might have got the order mixed up, but Louisiana's number 2, Florida's number 1, I can tell you that. And man, it's great to know we're not number 1. So when does it flood? What time of year does it flood? Well, it depends, but usually we have what we call hurricane season between late August through the end of October and into like the first part of November sometimes. And it can also flood a lot during those times. That's where we get most of our rainfall anyways. So it's not common for the hurricanes to come through during those time periods, right? So if you don't know this already, Hurricane Katrina, which is the famous hurricane that kind of wiped out New Orleans and Chalmette, well, that was August 29th, okay? And then Hurricane Ida, which happened just a couple years ago, that also happened on August 29th. And that crazy rainfall fluke that I was telling you about in 2016 that we had that kind of wiped out Livingston Parish, well, that was in August as well. So we get all these major flood events in August, it seems, but really from August to like October-ish is what we call hurricane season. So let's talk about flood zones for a second, because I hear a lot of people saying, I just don't want to buy in a flood zone. I don't want to be in a flood zone. I don't want the risk of it flooding, blah, blah, blah. So everywhere in Louisiana is in a flood zone. There is higher risk flood zones and there's lower risk flood zones. Reason I'm doing air quotes is because it's all just a bunch of crap, and I'll tell you why in just a second. I want to read you some definitions first of these flood zones. So flood zones B and X shaded are areas of moderate flood hazard, usually the area between the limits of the 100-year and 500-year floods. Flood zones C and X unshaded are areas of minimal flood hazard, usually depicted on FIRMs as above the 500-year flood level, and flood zone Z may have ponding and local drainage problems that don't warrant a detailed study or designation as base floodplain. And flood zone X is the area determined to be outside the 500-year flood and protected by levee from 100-year flood. So in a summary, flood zones B, C, and X are lower risk. They're more protected, quote unquote. Now, flood zone A are areas with a 1% annual chance of flooding and a 26% chance of flooding over the life of a 30-year mortgage. Okay, because detailed analyses are not performed for such areas, no depths or base flood elevations are shown within these zones. Okay, so listen, whenever you say, I don't want to be in a flood zone, what you probably mean is you don't want to be in a high-risk flood zone, which would be largely considered to be flood zone A. That's the one where at the time of this recording, your lender is going to require you to get flood insurance for if you're buying a property in flood zone A, regardless of how elevated it is or whatever. They're going to require you to get flood insurance because, like I just read to you, there's a 26% chance of it flooding over the life of the mortgage. So if they think there's a 1 in 4 chance that you're going to flood, they're going to make you get flood insurance. Make sense? Now, there are areas that are flood zone A that literally have not flooded through any of the hurricanes, through any of the major floods. Like there's areas in flood zone A that have not flooded. There's homes that have not flooded. Now, there's areas in flood zones X, C, and B that have gotten demolished by floods. See what I mean? So there's higher risk, there's lower risk, but really what comes down to it, guys, is are you buying a property that's close to a giant body of water? Are you buying right next to the levee? Are you buying a house that's flooded before? You see, what you got to do down here in Louisiana is you've got to read those property disclosures, because the sellers have to disclose if they are aware of any flooding that has occurred while they have owned the property. So if they've owned it for 60 years and they say it hasn't flooded, well, they're definitely liable if they say that it hasn't flooded and it actually has. So you're protected there. You've got to read those property disclosures though. If the property's never flooded before and it's raised 12 feet off the ground, do you think it's going to flood? I mean, it could. Anything's possible, but even if it's in flood zone A, if it's been sitting there for 60 years without it flooding, you're pretty safe. So let me make sure I get this straight. Let me make sure you guys completely understand this. There are flood zones C, X, B, and A. Flood zone A is higher risk. However, flood zones X, C, and B can get flooded very badly. Flood zone A can also not be affected by floods. Flood zone A, you're required to get flood insurance. Now, some of this might change in the future, but as of this recording, if you're in flood zone A, you're going to be required to get flood insurance. Now, what's a smart thing to do? If you know that potentially anywhere you go, you could be affected by flooding, you might want to just get flood insurance anyways, especially if it's only just a couple $100 per year. Like, you might as well just add it on there, right? Just throw it on just in case, just to be safe, right? That's what I would say the majority of people that are smart will do. Now, if I am buying a property that is 12 feet off the ground and it is far away from a body of water and it is not flooded for the 50-year period that the seller has owned the house, I might not get any flood insurance because the odds that it's going to flood and completely destroy the house are pretty low. But you've got to look at the facts. You got to look at what really matters. The flood zone that you're in does not matter a whole lot. As you can probably tell, the goal of this channel is to truly educate you and inform you about everything, about anything and everything living in South Louisiana and relocating to South Louisiana. I'm not trying to persuade you to move here if it turns out the things that I talk about make you, go another route. That doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm really trying to provide value for you guys and give you what you're looking for. And I know that you're worried about it flooding. So here's the video. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that you shouldn't worry about the flooding and that, it's a big myth that Louisiana floods. No, you should worry about it. You got to be smart. You've got to check your property disclosures. You got to know how high the ground is. You've got to know how far away the nearest body of water is. You got to know, guys, you got to know what the facts are if you're moving here. If you do those things that I talk about in this video, your stress level surrounding flooding should go down. Now, anything can happen. Even if it looks like the perfect property that will never flood, it could flood. But don't stress out too much. It's going to be okay. I can walk you through this process if you're thinking about moving here. And if I didn't cover something you wanted me to cover, if you have any other questions whatsoever, drop a comment or shoot me a text. Just let me know. I give you guys my phone number. You can text me. You can ask me any questions you want. I've got your back. And if you're looking to make a move down here in the next 9 days, the next 90 days, like I said before, all the contact info is in the description down below. So go ahead and reach out to us. We've got your back with a smooth move to South Louisiana. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, subscribe, tap that notification bell as well, and check this video out. This one right here, the one I'm pointing to. Click it, or if you can, I don't know if you can click it. Just watch that video. Watch it. It's gonna be good.